Well, hi. Today is Monday, December 9th, 2024, and time for another morning coffee. I'm Todd Studer, and wearing the Hawkeye shirt to celebrate Iowa making it to the Music City Bowl, where they'll be taking on Missouri. The Tigers had a pretty good year, 9-3. They're ranked number 19 in the country. And I would expect a lot of folks will be making it to that game. You know, Columbia, Missouri, and Nashville, Tennessee, not that far apart. So there'll be a lot of Mizzou fans there. And it's also one of the closer bowl games that Iowa could have gone to. So I think that there will be a lot of Hawkeye fans there, too. And plus, what's better than, spending a weekend in Nashville? Game's going to be on December 30th. Congratulations to the Iowa State Cyclones, making it all the way to the Big 12 championship game. Yes, they came up short against Arizona State, but what a year they had. First time in school history that they had a 10-win season. And to celebrate their bowl game, probably the toughest bowl game that's not in the actual playoffs, taking on 13th ranked Miami of Florida. And you can see they took the top 12 teams into the playoffs. Miami's ranked 13th. So, yeah, they're pretty darn good. Iowa State goes into that game ranked number 18 in the country. That will be in Orlando on December 28th. So good luck, Cyclone fans, as you make your way down to Disney World and everything else going on in Orlando. And Nebraska in their first bowl game since, what's it been, about 150 years or so? I tease. The Huskers 6-6, taking on 7-5 Boston College in the Pinstripe Bowl. So any Nebraska fans that are going to be making the bowl trip, it's not going to be that warm. It's going to be in New York City. And that will also be on December 28th. And plus, it's the early game. It's like an 11 a.m. kickoff. So, but go. I encourage you. Nebraska fan, you got a team in a bowl game. You should go and support those Huskers. So thank you to Travis Waldstein of Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning and Waldstein Plumbing for always coming on and giving us his views. And I got a feeling we're going to get him on again really soon to talk about what he expects to see out of Iowa in that game against Missouri. So we'll try to get that scheduled for you. And also something else you should get scheduled if you haven't done it yet. And if you're kind of like me, these things get put off. Schedule one of those checkups for your furnace. And it should already be running, but it may be able to run in better condition or better efficiency. So something that Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning does, also Waldstein Plumbing. When integrity matters, these are the guys that you want to call. Also, we want to say a thank you to Carol Horner of Spiral of Accountability for sponsoring Morning Coffee. Spiral of Accountability is a book that Carol wrote in order to help businesses know how to better communicate with each other. Sometimes we have some just misfiring in our communication, and we don't really understand why it is that we're not able to relate to each other. And Carol has developed a way to show us very clearly what direction we're facing and what direction we should be facing in order to be able to find common ground. So I encourage you to go to spiralofAccountability.com, or you can go to synchronicity.com, either one of those websites, and you can purchase Carol's book, and plus you can schedule her to come in and speak to your team at your place of business. Well, I had talked last week about Jim Motz. He used to own a car dealership in Council Bluffs until just a couple of years ago. And he is the author of this book, I Asked God to Kill Me. And this is a fascinating story about how he talks about some of his poor choices and some of the different things that he did in order to transform his life into where he is at today. You know what? So I thought, what better way to learn more about it than actually talking with Jim Motz? Joining us now on Morning Coffee, Jim Motz. He is an author. He is an entrepreneur. He's got all kinds of projects going on, and we're going to learn more about that. Jim, how are you this morning?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me. I've been digging your stuff and excited to finally be on and talk to you, Todd. Thank you so much.
That's a high compliment. Thank you very much. Take us back to how far back is it that, because you got a car dealership in Council Bluffs, how far back does that go?
So I got into the car business. My goodness, let's age us both. 1997 is when I started selling cars. And I got into the Edwards, what was then the Edwards O'Neill Auto Group, and ended up moving up the ladder in that group from selling cars to assistant manager, sales manager, finance manager, all that kind of good stuff, and finally became a partner with them as we established a used car financing operation. And for the last 15 years of my career with that group, I was a partner with them. So it was 27 years total in that field.
That's you have to be getting some kind of satisfaction out of it past just because I talk to people a lot about what it is that they do for a living, and if it's just about the dollar signs, it's seldom enough. So there had to have been something else going on there.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about my time in the car business is how many different people I was in that field. And here's what I mean. So at 24 years old, I was just lost. I went to college for 4 years, earned 0 degrees, drinking a lot, partying in general, and drugs, and just not living the right life. And working for a local insulation company. That's horrible work, by the way. I enjoyed the people I worked with, but I'm telling you what, insulation and blowing attics, and it's tough stuff. So I decided I'm going to give selling cars a try. So I applied at a lot on 35th and Broadway in Council Bluffs. At that point, it was called Tim O'Neill's Used Cars and Trucks. So I apply for a job there. I get hired, and I was still partying, but all of a sudden making what I thought was huge money. I had no bills in life, and up to that point, I'm making $10 an hour. Now I'm selling cars, and back then I'm making $4,000 or $5,000 a month selling cars. And 1997, that's pretty grown up money for a young dude with no responsibilities.
Yeah, it's better than what I was doing back then.
Right. So it was fun, but a little too much fun. And I had success in that field. And even with the lifestyle I was leading, I was still blessed to have some success. I think I had some natural giftings in that area, was blessed to work with pretty good teams, and moved up the ladder pretty good. And so for the first 7 years of my career, I lived that lifestyle. In 2003, I had a pretty radical spiritual transformation and decided to change my life, and sought a relationship with Jesus, stopped drinking, stopped drugs. The carousing lifestyle I was living came to an end, changed my life, and stayed in the same field, which was challenging because, especially back then, the auto business afforded you every opportunity to not live the right life. A lot of drinking, a lot of partying in that lifestyle. And I stayed in that field, and I'm glad that I did, because I think I was able to have an impact on some other people. And you talk about what kept me in it is after I stopped drinking and when I began to go to church and really change my life and have Jesus in my heart, I became better at the job. I approached it differently, and the customers weren't just, there to serve me and make me money. I was able to help people. Selling cars, people don't think that you're helping anybody, but you actually are. We all need transportation, and helping secure financing and things for people really spoke to me. It led me to the next phase of my career, where I saw a lot of people with really bad credit, a lot of struggles in life, that couldn't get a break anywhere. They couldn't buy a car. So we found that the best way to help these folks was to establish our own finance operation where we could offer them financing through the capital that we secured and service those loans. It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done up till this stage of life. At that point, it really spoke to me because I was that person when I was younger. And to be able to help people get a leg up, help them rebuild their credit, help them have hope and quality transportation, it made it more than just a job. It was a pretty cool career.
Now, at some point, you decided that, and I think if I'm correct, that it wasn't that long ago that, all right, you're going to be finished with that industry and just kind of pivot your life.
Yes.
What was going on then?
Well, a lot was going on then. This was a spring and summer of 2023, so not that long ago. My personal life was not going great at home. I was in a struggling marriage and ended up divorcing at that time. And the business partners that I had, and I mentioned who they were, so I was part of the Edwards Auto Group. First off, great family, great people, great operators. I wouldn't be where I'm at, have the knowledge, the the blessings of the net worth I've been able to establish through my time with them. I wouldn't have any of this without them. But there was a feeling of maybe transitioning away from me being kind of the point person and bringing on some of the sons to come ahead of me. And I had no problem with that. I think that transition was going to happen at some point. And with everything that was going on in my personal life, and I got that, it just wasn't as fulfilling as it had been. And the dynamic of our relationship started to change. So I just thought it was the right time. It was on my heart to, you know what, let's just go ahead and make sweeping life change and blow this thing up and really chase after the next thing. So I can't say enough. I have the utmost respect for those folks, that family, how they do business. I really respect them. I'm so appreciative of everything they did. But like most things, if you're paying attention, you'll know when it's time to go do the next thing.
At any point after you'd made that decision, and I'm speaking from personal experience, this is why I'm asking you this question. Did you sit, lay in bed, whatever, and just have a moment of, oh, what did I just do?
So the answer to that question specifically is no, because I didn't have a moment. I had 12 months of moments.
Okay.
So I laid in bed for about 365 nights and staring at the ceiling fan thinking, oh no, what did I do? And I will say that what shocked me the most was, I had set myself up financially to where I wasn't going to, how am I going to pay my mortgage the next month? And so I'm very blessed to have arranged all of that. But the thing that I wasn't ready for was how much my identity was wrapped up in what I was doing. I didn't realize it. And when that's taken away from you, or when you give that up, you wake up thinking, well, now who am I? I've spent all these years as the boss. I spent all these years as, this guy in this role and doing this. And now you wake up and you're like, now who the heck am I? And so that was the most interesting thing. And I think that anyone that's going through life change and transition that's going to be the common, I think, denominators. We're all going to be saying, what the heck do I do next? Because I'm not quite sure who I am.
Yeah, that exact thing happened to me with, doing radio for 30 years. And now, but I mean, what I do now is very similar to it. It's just a different delivery method, but still it's, I don't have the same level of recognition that I used to. So it was, how does this, what specifically am I now? And then I started to realize, no, wait a minute, that identity shouldn't be coming from external sources.
That's right.
And that's the trap of the industry that I worked in, is it's very easy to get caught up in I know this, these people know me because they heard me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not real. That's true. And that's where that identity thing, and I had to get comfortable with turning the camera to the inside and being more reflective with it.
Yeah. And that part was tough. So doing that kind of work, I thought I was a guy that was pretty disciplined and didn't mind doing hard things and putting in the hard work and all that kind of stuff. But when it came to really doing that introspective work, that kind of stuff, I was like, dang, this is way tougher than I thought. Now I've got to take that deep look inside. And now I've got to figure out, okay, who am I? And then what really freaked me out was I got to figure out, who have I been? The whole thing was just a lot. It's just heavy. And when you don't have a job to go to every day, you know what you got a lot of? Freaking time, man. You're like, you got a lot of time to think and figure this stuff out. So it was a life-giving time, but it was pretty painful.
I can relate completely to that.
Yeah.
So at what time during all of this is going on that you decided that, hey, there's a book in me and I want to put this down on paper? When did that process start to take place?
I had wanted to write a book for a long time, even while I was in the car business, because teaching people and kind of imparting to them lessons that I've learned, and hard lessons, was very important to me. But when I sat down to put pen to paper, so to speak, to that book, it was largely because I had a lot to get out. And it's interesting. And I really would love for people to pick up a copy of the book, not because I just really need to sell books, and that'd be cool too, but there's two parts to the book. Part of it, the first half, is reflections upon different seasons of my life. And the second part are some actionable steps and some lessons I've learned, and talks on alcohol and faith and business and things like that. But I've recently reread the book, which I didn't do for a while. And as I'm reading it, I thought to myself, I couldn't write that book today. It's because that glimpse of where my heart was, it's just what we were talking about. The guy that wrote that book was struggling with his identity. And I sense a bitterness and an anger in some of that as I'm putting those words down. And the reason in hindsight that it was important for me to do that was kind of my therapy. And I look upon that book now as kind of like tattoos. So I'm a guy I got a lot of tattoos, and some of them are really old from when I'm 18 years old. And people are like, what's that old tattoo? Why don't you get that covered up? I'm like, well, because that's who I was then. And I want to remember that. And the same thing with that first book, I asked God to kill me. I want that book out there because I want to remember who that guy was. And there's real life lessons in there, not just for the audience, but for me.
I've spoken with other first-time authors, and as I was perusing through this, and something that maybe a lot of people wouldn't pay any attention to, but jumped out at me, was your Library of Congress number. What did it mean when that came in? Because I've heard from other authors about this, that they felt legitimized when that came out. Is that an experience that you had?
It was really cool when that happened, but I struggled when that came out, and still do to a degree, with a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a car salesman who wrote a book. And the process of writing the book was so interesting to me. And it really, one thing I didn't realize that I enjoyed about my prior career was the creativity that was involved in it. People might think, well, you financed cars, you sold cars, you ran sales teams. There's no creativity in that. There is. There's creativity in drawing up marketing ideas and strategies, trainings, sales meetings, making things engaging for the audience and the client base. So the creativity part of my career, I really missed. And this was a great outlet, writing the books and things. So going from that first day of sitting down with the keyboard and putting words into the word processor, to the next thing you know, you're designing the cover and the font and the color and all this stuff, and you're looking at that. And now I recently, this last weekend, for the first time, went to the Book Nook. They have 3 stores here locally over in Omaha, local bookstore, and I saw my book on their shelves. And that was way more impactful than when I got my number. Even though that was a big deal, that Library of Congress thing's a big deal. But when I'm standing there thinking, my freaking book is on a shelf at a bookstore, I'm like, that's crazy to me. It's that the whole process is super rewarding, because I'm a process guy. I like to say that I'm more of a stick guy than a carrot chaser. I love the process. So I just thought the whole thing was pretty fun. Anybody that is even considering, do I have a book in me? I'm not an author. You're an author. There's a book in you if you have that inkling, and you need to go for it.
Yeah, and you remind me of something that happened when you talked about imposter syndrome. Yeah, I deal with it, and I think just about everybody at some level deals with that. But years and years ago, I was broadcasting a high school volleyball match, and it was for the right to go to the state tournament in Cedar Rapids. And Council Bluffs Abraham Lincoln was playing, and they hadn't been there for a while.
Nice.
And they played a really hard-fought match and won, and there was a lot of excitement. And I wish I could remember the coach's name, but he came up for a post-game interview. I was working for KMA at the time, and I asked him, I said, well, it's one thing, to go through the regional tournament, but now you're going to the state tournament, and you're going to be facing the best in the state. How do you feel you're going to match up there? And he just looked at me and very calmly said, we're one of them. Yes. And that lesson has stuck with me for now 25 years.
That's great.
Of one man saying that about his team. We achieved it. We have already proven we deserve to be there because we're there. And the same, Jim, with this book that you have here, you're one of them. You are an author. And I get that, I live with that imposter syndrome myself,
sure.
But still, you've already proven you're in the pool.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. You're in the pool.
That's cool. Thank you.
So what's going on with you now? I mean, you're not selling cars,
right?
And I know part of it because you got a really nice microphone sitting there and a really nice set. So I know part of what's going on now.
So, and I'll tell you what, so I do this, my little thing back there, that's my Ministry of Freedom show plaque. So my podcast is called the Ministry of Freedom Show. We're real proud of that. We've done it about a year, and yeah, we have nice microphones, and we put up these fancy basement looking walls. So Our podcast, I'm pretty proud of it. It's called the Ministry of Freedom, and to me, freedom is twofold. I believe freedom is building a foundational faith in Christ while becoming strong, fit, and capable in all areas of life. So I'm a big fitness guy. I'm a big Jesus guy. I'm an anti-religion guy. And I'm kind of an in-your-face, blunt type of a guy. So a little bit of a dichotomy. There's a lot that goes into the show, but we talk faith, we talk fitness and health, we talk some political issues, and we have a lot of fun. And it's been pretty rewarding to do that. I've had a great time since I left the car business of just doing things that I have no idea how to do. And like, I don't know how to write a book. Let's write a book. What about a podcast? No freaking idea. Let's get some people around us that can help us, and let's start a podcast and see how it goes. And I just like the creativity part of that. So that's been fun. I wrote a second book, which is right here. Shameless plug.
No, you're fine.
It's called The Suck Cycle. So my Suck Cycle book came out a couple weeks ago, and I wrote a 7-week program. And because, like I had said, I'm tired of watching people metabolically sick, unhealthy, obese, trudging their way through life, not really living, but merely existing. I'm just tired of it. I can relate to it because when I was in my late 20s, I was 75 pounds overweight, smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day, drank 18 beers a day, had a debilitating drug habit. I can relate to those things. I've gotten myself somewhat fit and capable. I'm probably not going to be on 50 plus Men's Health anytime soon, but I am getting there, and I try to live a healthy lifestyle, and I want to help other people do that. So I designed a program that's 7 weeks long, and there's a devotional that I wrote for every day that people can study. There are some nutritional aspects. There's some training, some weightlifting and training aspects in it. And I believe that if people do it for 7 weeks, they have the opportunity to change their life. So that's the next thing that I've been working on, and it finally came out. So that was kind of fun.
You're also talking to a former smoker. I smoked for over 20 years and was able to finally give them up 15 years ago. And I have found, and I think that this would also apply to a lot of the different things that you're talking about with the 7-week plan. People think that you found some kind of magic way of doing it. And because I would get that all the time regarding the smoking end of it. Yeah. Well, how did you do it? Somebody that is a smoker. Well, how did you do it? And they think that, oh, he must have figured it out. And I said, I can tell you, but you're not going to like it. I said, I just didn't smoke.
Yeah.
I didn't desire cigarettes any less than what you do right now. That's just didn't smoke. And eventually it went away. But whether it's smoking, whether it's working out, whether it's eating correctly or whatever, the problem is that there is never that light at the end of the tunnel where you feel like you've crossed a finish line. You can only tell your progress by looking behind you. You cannot see it going forward. And it's a really difficult thing. And I'm assuming that your journey was like that as you started to get more fit, it probably didn't feel a whole lot different right then than it did a week before, but you could tell if you turned backwards and looked at it.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's the whole thing is I'm about trajectory, right? So even if our trajectory, it's just slightly tilted up, maybe you can barely even see it. Maybe you have to put a marble on it to even see if your trajectory is pointed up. If it's pointed slightly up, you're good to go. You're on the path, and over time, you're going to get there. That's why I don't get freaked out about getting older, man. I'm 53 years old now, and I love being this age because I'm excited because I feel I'm getting better. So every year I should be getting stronger and wealthier and more fit and better at relationships and all those things and more well-read. If I'm using my life the right way and my time, if I'm a good steward of time, aging is pretty cool. Now, if I'm going the other way and I'm letting the default of laziness and gravity, and that's just kind of sickness is setting in and I have to accept all that, then aging is going to really, really suck for me. And I'm not going to have that.
Yep. It's, I interviewed, my great aunt many, many years ago. She was 99 years old.
Oh man.
And we did a video interview, and I asked her because she was very active. 2 weeks before we did that, she had driven herself to the casino to go play the nickel slots.
Let's go.
But I asked her about, I don't know, staying active and how she was able to do that. And she said, too many people my age just want to go sit down, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's a good
And
word.
I think that that's part of it. And you know, you and I are same generation. We're very close to the same age, and I've working on not referring to myself as some old guy,
There you
because
go.
I that's a trap that I fall into.
Yep.
And saying, I mean, because when you start saying things and you put them out loud, now it's like building a wall with those, you know, what looks like bricks in the background of where you're sitting at, that,
Yeah.
you know, every time you say that, you're putting up another one.
Yeah.
Did that itself completely change the wall? No, but you just added a little bit to it.
Yeah,
So,
man. That's a good word. No, for sure. I totally resonate with that. It's about how you talk to yourself. What I've found is the way that sometimes we talk to ourselves, we'd never put up with somebody else talking to us
oh,
that
you are
way.
so right about that.
Dude, if somebody came up and said to me the stuff I say to myself in my own head, I
Mhm.
freaking, it wouldn't go well. But we seem to be okay with that negative self-talk. And I've really been trying to work on that and tell myself some positive things. You know, I'm all about encouraging other people. I need to say some more encouraging things to me.
I actually, I just told my girlfriend that maybe just a month ago, and it was a realization that I had that, you know, if somebody talked to my son the way that I talk to myself, yeah, I'd punch him.
Right.
I'm not
Yes.
gonna. I would never allow that somebody else to talk to him that way. And I thought, you know, there's what am I doing? You
That's right.
know,
Yeah,
that's because it's that kind of thing matters.
it does.
And with what, you know, the business that I'm building now and what you are doing, and the business that you are building now, you know, what we say matters. And even if there's nobody to listen to it, we're hearing it. So,
You know, I appreciate you bringing that up. So, one other thing that I'm super passionate about, and it kind of piggybacks off of what you're saying, is that encouraging mindset and having people around you that can call you to the table if you're getting a little bit down, and being around other people that you can help lift up and help them grow. I've been building for this last several months, I've been building a community that I call Building and Becoming. And it's a group of people that we're assembling, and it's on School, Skool, pretty cool platform. And what we've done is we've established a community where people can join. We do a lot of different Zoom calls, we do different trainings and things of that nature. And it provides coaching, mentoring, networking, some massive accountability, and it's a way for people to come together. And when we're used to feeling a little bit isolated and alone, that we've got other people that are going to pick us up. And if somebody's struggling with weight loss, then we can discuss that. And maybe someone else has had those struggles. If someone's trying to start an entrepreneurial venture, there's somebody in the group that's got experience in that. And it's been very, very life-giving. We've been at it for a few weeks, and we're adding people every day. And it's just been really, really cool. I'm super excited. That's kind of my next thing. I want to be around a group of people that I can help grow. And it's been pretty great, man.
I've learned throughout the past year of this journey that I have been on, of just how many truly talented people we have right here locally.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be authors such as yourself, or musicians, or, you know, there's a gentleman down in Bellevue that's creating these things that have been on the Tonight Show multiple times, and he's, you know, he's nationally known now. And we've got these people living here locally that my belief is needs a brighter spotlight, and you are in that pool, Jim.
I
and
appreciate that, man.
and I'm grateful that you are out there doing what it is that you're doing, and understand that it's not just about your own personal journey, but it's like you just said, we're taking other people with us.
Yeah.
And that's I think the key to all of this.
You know, one of the great things that I ever heard in my life was from Zig Ziglar. You ever remember Zig Ziglar?
Very much.
Back in the day, I loved Zig. And his adage was, you can have everything you want out of life if you'll help enough other people get what they want out of life. And man, when I really started living that instead of just hearing it as a from an audio book, when I really and that penetrated my heart, and I started wanting to live out that mission, man, everything changed. The light came on, man, and it's so true. And I want to live in freedom, and yeah, I want to have some financial success as well, and that stuff's important, but it's not everything. But as I've found, as I'm helping other people get what they want out of life, all of a sudden it's just, I'm in the flow and I start getting everything that I desire for my life and for my family's life. It's pretty great. And that's how it should work.
Where can people find your podcast?
So my podcast is everywhere. Our YouTube channel, I'd love to point people there. It's Ministry of Freedom Show with Jim Motz. It's also on Spotify. It's on Apple. We drop new episodes every Tuesday morning. And the books are available locally at the Book Nook, Papillion, and in Exarban Village and at Jocelyn Castle and that bookstore, and online. You get them on Amazon. And the Building and Becoming program that I've built is on School. If people go to School, SKOOL, type in Building and Becoming, they'll find it. And if not, reach out to me. They can reach me on Instagram. I'm at Real Jim Motz. That's where I'm most active. Message me. I'm happy to get you the link to it. My email is info@jimmotz.com. And in the next month, we'll have a website, jimmotz.com. And let me give a quick plug there. Mm-hmm. Southwest Iowa is full of amazingly creative entrepreneurial people. And I live out in Elkhorn now. I grew up in Southwest Iowa in Missouri Valley. I still have property there. I love it. I love investing in that community. I have a heart for Council Bluffs. I lived there for 20 plus years and did business and built business there. But Amy Dillard is building our website with Dillard Management, awesome Council Bluffs company. And her and her husband are great people. I have such a heart for the creative folks in Southwest Iowa. I live out here in Elkhorn, yet most of my business connections, and when I go for help and I need to partner with folks, I'm going across the river. So I appreciate everything that's going on over there, because I wouldn't be where I'm at without Council Bluffs in Missouri Valley, Iowa. That's for sure.
Well, we're thankful that you have had the success that you've had, and also put all the work in and continue to put the work in. And don't be a stranger. We want to stay up to date about what's going on.
I appreciate it, Todd, for sure, man. We'll do this again, brother.
As Jim mentioned, you can find his Ministry of Freedom podcast on YouTube. And while you're there looking at one of the newer episodes, look at that shiny new studio that Jim has. I was involved in putting that together. That's where I met him. And he's becoming one of my favorite people around, and really thrilled that he has got his second book out now and is doing just so well in the world of podcasting and being an author and everything else that the gentleman has going on. So congratulations to you, sir. Just Sue Creative is owned by Sue Pitts, and this is a business that Sue created this year in order to be able to help businesses grow their business. And she does that through website building, SEO optimization, helps you with your social media marketing. There's so many different things that Sue can do for you. You just go to justsuecreative.com and you can see everything that's on there. And if you want a real world example of what Sue can do, go to my website, leshillsmedia.com. She did it. It was her creation on there. And she also built her own at Just Sue Creative. So a couple of great examples, and get a hold of her and see what she can do for you. George Ivanoff at The Best Wrestler is waiting to hear from you if you have a young person that is interested in wrestling, whether they are already an accomplished wrestler and wants to get to the next level, or maybe it's an introductory that getting them into wrestling. He's got programs for that too. He's got a lot of ways that he reaches out to the communities. There's fitness classes. There's all kinds of things going on up at The Best Wrestler near the Mid-America Center. So go to thebestwrestler.com and check out everything that's going on and see just how George Ivanoff can help your young person take their wrestling career to the next level. So congratulations. We're going to take a break now for college football from college football rather, until towards the end of the month. Start to see some of these smaller bowl games. I don't know. I'm of the old school that, when I was young, there was maybe a dozen bowl games. And if you made one, you had a pretty good year. And now you only need, you get 6 wins and you're going to a bowl game. And I don't know. I liked it better when there was a lot fewer of them, but I also liked it better when there was arguments about who was the national champion. I didn't mind that. It was different than the pros, and I liked it. This new 12-team playoff thing, for me, I could have done without it. I do understand how people like to be able to say, okay, here is the national champion, but we're arguing about who should have gotten into the 12. I think it was a good thing that they left Alabama out. That probably would have caused more outrage than just, upset Alabama fans. But anyway, it's, like I said, I am more of a old school kind of person when it comes to college football. And, even sometimes that there was split national champions. I went to school with a guy that he was a year behind me, ended up playing for Georgia Tech, and he has a national championship ring because they split that year. And I think it was with Michigan. And so or it might have been Colorado. I forget which one it was back when Georgia Tech won the national championship. If he happens to watch this, I'm sure I'll get an email. But anyway, I liked that. I thought it was great. I liked the conversation about it. I didn't necessarily need somebody to go through and win. And now we're going to have teams playing 15, 16 games, in a college football season. I don't know. I think that's just, to me, that's too many, but nobody asked my opinion before they formed it. So I'll just settle in and enjoy the college football with the rest of you. And it's all going to be coming up later on. As I mentioned, we'll be talking more about some of the local teams, Iowa, ISU, and Nebraska all playing in bowl games this year. Been a while since all three have made it to a bowl game. So lots to talk about this year and lots to talk about this week. In fact, coming up on tomorrow's show, I'm going to have an old friend who has something very similar to this show that he does up in Okoboji. So we're going to learn more about what's happening in Okoboji. There's a lot of folks around here that vacation there. His name's Jeff Thee. You may have seen him or may have heard of him, and he used to do something similar to this on television. So we're going to talk with him tomorrow, and you can learn more about that process and everything that goes on. I actually already recorded it, and it was before. He's a big Iowa State fan, so it was before the Iowa State game that I talked to him. But that is coming up on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, it's going to wrap things up here this morning on Morning Coffee. Thank you so much for being a part of things today. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.